So what can happen in these meetings and this kind of discussion of oneness is that something can begin to loosen up. Really, there are only two sort of realities, if we can say that. There is the natural way of things, the totality, all that is and isn't appearing. So that includes a laptop, a phone, a body, a sky, a sun, a sound, an emotion, a sensation, a thought. All that is appearing to take place, all phenomena, is the natural reality, the natural way of things. It is the totality. And this totality is actually hollow. This totality is empty. It's non-physical. It's nothing. It's insubstantial. But it appears to be substantial. It appears to be full. It appears to be something. It appears to be physical. It appears to be a form. But the form is really empty. All forms are empty. So this oneness, which of course just means one, so it means not two. So it means that there's no separation. No separation. If there is two, then that is separation. That is duality. So oneness points to a single nature. To say that the totality is just one, like one vast infinite ocean. And it appears as what seems to be many different forms, but really those many forms are just actually one nature. Just in the same way that there can be many waves in the ocean, but really there are no waves, there is just the ocean itself that is taking on the appearance, the image of a particular wave. So when there is no separation, that means also there is no lack. So in the natural way of things, natural reality, there is no lack. No separation, no lack. So that means everything is already fulfilled, everything is already complete, everything is already whole. There is nothing lacking. Everything is already enough. And this totality is impersonal because there is no separate person that is really in the totality. There is only really the illusion of a person. And so this is the other so-called reality, which is really just a dream, a hallucination. So you have the natural reality, the totality, and then you've got within that like a bubble of experience, an illusory bubble of experience, which is of being a separate person that is moving in separation, that is separate, and everything seems to be separate, that feels as though there is some lack, that it's lacking something, that feels as though everything is personal, and feels as though it is a controller and decider of what is happening, that it is like a doer, that it can do this, that it can do that. It claims ownership for what the totality is doing. It claims ownership of what the totality is happening. And so in that experience of separation of this, what I call the artificial self, this bubble of experience, it feels as though it's moving through time, past, present, future. And it's trying to seek something more and attain something more because it feels it's lacking something. And also because it feels it is separate, it's trying to protect itself. So in that sense of separation comes fear. In that sense of lack comes attachment, dependency, identification, association with what seems to be limited. So it has fear and it has desire. Desire to become more, to have more, to achieve more, and fear to protect itself. And so these are born out of the illusion of itself. It's really a mirage, it's really a fiction, it's really a phantom. So what's being said is that there is no solid center or self. That this artificial self is really an illusion. But even though there is really no self, there can be a sense of a self, a sense of a center, a sense of separation. Out of the natural way of things, the totality, it can play as anything. It is like infinite energy that can play as anything. So it can play as what seems to be a finite, a more condensed form. And so what happens is, it seems in every body, a sense of separation develops, a sense of localization, a more condensed energy. And this sense is then misperceived to be an actual solid self. It's misperceived to be separation. It's misperceived that there is lack. Misperceived that there is actual personal control and doership. And that there is actual time.
I guess so.
When really this is completely timeless. The oneness is completely timeless. Totally timeless. And so in that illusion, there can be many ups and downs. It's a dualistic experience, highs and lows, ups and downs, suffering, unhappiness, constant sense of trying to get somewhere as if something is missing, or to become something more, get something more. And so then the oneness, the totality, is like sort of completely out of the picture, because this artificial self just exists within its own bubble. And this has become very, very normal. You could say that there are billions of these bubbles of a separate sense of experience. But in the natural reality, it's not an experience. Because experience is only within the structure of that separate sense of energy. And the complex identity that gets associated with that. So what happens is that society and culture encourages this belief and this sense of separation, this sense of self. And so you have a whole society that is based on it and that only reinforces and fortifies it and strengthens it. And so it can actually feel like a real solid sense of separation, not just an idea, not just a belief, but an actual sense of it. And that is like energetic in nature. So these are the two sort of realities that are taking place. And so in this meeting, what can happen is as we expose the artificial self, the mirage of that, the illusion of that, as we discuss that, point to that, and point to the mystery of oneness, which cannot ultimately be known, cannot be understood, is unspeakable, is indescribable. What might happen is that there can be a loosening of this artificial sense of self. It's like a tight screw, and that screw can start to loosen up. And what may happen, what can happen, is that there is a kind of energetic shift that takes place where that artificial sense of self is no more. It seems that what happens is that there are many kinds of like a temporary moment, a temporary instant of seeing no self. Sometimes this is referred to as a glimpse. So sometimes spiritual seekers, they have a glimpse of no self. But then what happens, it comes back, and then this separate sense of self comes back into play very quickly. And then what can happen is, in an awakening, there's this kind of oscillation, a constant movement between a solid sense of self and no self. And it kind of seems to go in and out of that. And then in liberation, this is where that whole sense of self is no more. There is some recognition, not a personal recognition, there is some recognition that it does not exist, that it is a total illusion, and that it never actually existed, that it was always just a mirage. And in that recognition, it's actually seen that everything is already free and has always been free. And that this sense of self was really just a dream all along. Just like somebody dreaming at night thinking that the dream was real and that they were real in the dream, or there was a real character in the dream, and then waking up from that dream and seeing that it was a total illusion.